Let me tell you a story about a girl named Lou. Lou was a high school senior and was a perfectionist. Now, most of you right now are probably thinking of someone that you know who's a perfectionist, or maybe you're thinking, okay, that sounds like me. And when you think of these people, or yourself, who are perfectionists, you typically think of those type A folks. But no, this wasn't Lou. She took the word perfectionist way further and was on an extreme level. Lou was so hell-bent on getting straight A's and was so obsessed with running that she'd once asked a teacher to change her grade of a B+ to an A because it would look better. And she'd also wake up at 4 a.m. before school and run for miles to ensure that she'd get that run in, just in case something would come up and prevent her from running after school. Lou was so engulfed in that life of running that she'd skip out of her family's fun little weekend trips to their lake house in Dale Hollow, Tennessee, and she even missed some of her cousins' graduations out of state, all because she was so scared to lose all of that traction she was gaining in running. Now, obvious to everyone, and even herself, though she didn't want to admit it, was that she wasn't propelling forward at all. She wasn't gaining traction. In fact, she was doing the opposite. Lou was dwindling down to a shell of a human, losing weight and hair and giving her body a major beating. Now, Lou knew changes had to be made, but she didn't know how to make those changes. Until one day, as fate would have it, the changes made themselves. Now, it was a normal day for Lou. She did her crazy girl run before school, went to school, ran again, and then visited her grandma at her nursing home. And at some point during that nursing home visit, Lou started to feel this intense burning sensation in her abdomen. And it felt as if her insides were on fire. It was a pain so severe that she wouldn't wish it upon the world's most malicious leaders. And this pain continued to plague her for hours. And she remembers lying in bed that night in the fetal position in a pool of sweat and looking out of her window at the big, bright moon and saying, "I wish I would die right now," because she felt that would be the only way to relieve herself of that utter anguish she was experiencing. Now, eventually, Lou got up to go to the bathroom and passed out. And her dad heard her hit the vanity and found her on the bathroom floor. He took her pulse, which was racing at 167 beats per minute, and called an ambulance, which rushed her to the hospital. And upon arrival, Lou had to go to the bathroom. She asked her mom, who had driven to meet her at the hospital since nobody could join her in the ambulance, to help her because she was in so much pain and was so lethargic that she couldn't walk or hold herself up. With her mom's help, she went into that bathroom and she was able to do it. And that's when it happened. She thrashed about a couple of times and then just went limp. Her mom screamed, "I think she's dead!" And then a nurse who had also come in for assistance took one look at Lou and called a double code, because Lou was indeed dead. And that's the moment that my life was forever changed. You see, my mom's nickname for me, Alanna, has always been Lou. Lou was me. And as you can tell by the sound of it, I'd found myself in quite the predicament. But back to the story. Now, I was rushed off on a stretcher, and as the doctors and nurses and other healthcare workers raced to save my life, I was on a separate journey. A journey that most people don't make it back to tell the tale, but sometimes it takes going outside of yourself to allow you to see your current circumstances against your potential future more clearly, even if it wasn't planned. Now, I remember so vividly the energy in the room. The doctors were in the zone and rattling off medical terms that didn't make any sense. I remember looking at the back of the room and seeing my mom, my dad, my stepdad bawling their eyes out, and I was so confused as to what was happening. I looked to the doctor to my right. I asked if I was going to be okay, in which he responded, "We're going to do the best we can." And it was in this moment that I knew things weren't looking that great in terms of a future. If I made it through whatever it was that was happening, changes had to be made. And I vowed to myself that I will make it through and flip the switch from living a life just simply going through the motions and avoiding death to living a life in which I would embrace and feel each moment. I vowed to myself that I would go skydiving, that I would make every life dream I've ever imagined become a reality, that I would tell the ones I love that I love them and that nothing would ever go unsaid, that I would go on vacations and not get so caught up with running or exercise. And I vowed that I would open my heart and find love, and eventually get married. But most of all, I vowed to live, to enjoy life and to experience it moment by moment and not get so caught up in the logistics. But I knew, given my current circumstances of maybe not even making it, that there was a lot of healing that had to be done before I could work on this new lifestyle. So as it turns out, my small intestines had been twisting around each other, and they had twisted for so long, circulation was cut off and created sepsis, which was how I died. And the intestines were so dead and necrotic that when the doctors went in to see what was wrong, they actually crumbled in their hands. And the surgeons removed 15 feet of my small intestines, and the remaining were still pretty dead, so I was given an ostomy bag, which, let me tell you what, not pretty. Now that thing would break open and spill its contents all over my body at any moment's notice, but it did make for a nice conversation piece. Now, I couldn't eat or drink anything for a few months because my intestines were still healing, so I received my nutrition via a port implanted in my chest. I would get TPN and lipids through an IV, which are pretty hard on the liver. And I started to go jaundice because it did such a number on my system. But fun fact, I was given a medication that was made from polar bear bile, which cleared my liver right up. Now, the recovery was anything but easy on all levels. The physical, obviously, but the mental, the spiritual, and emotional aspects of my soul were on a healing journey as well. The doctors weren't sure what would happen with me. There were talks of me needing that ostomy bag forever. There were talks of me never being able to eat again, and my case was so rare that they really couldn't pinpoint and give exact outcomes. But little by little, day by day, I got better. I would make goals to walk a few steps further than the previous day, to smile more often than I did last week, to not feel so down on myself. And as with most things, when you truly believe and put in the work, the desired outcome is reached. I would visualize my body healing and me being at the beach in a swimsuit without an ostomy bag. I would follow doctor's orders to make sure I wasn't doing anything to harm my intestines during the healing process. And I knew I could and would heal the intestines to allow that ostomy bag reversal, and that it wasn't going to be attached to my hip, quite literally, for the rest of my life. Well, guess what? I did it. So a few months after the big catastrophe, I had a routine, if you could call it that, given my situation was anything but routine, colonoscopy, which would allow doctors a glimpse at how my intestines looked. And to their pleasant surprise, they had healed. I was able to get the ostomy bag takedown, and that was only a mere 3 months after getting the bag in the first place, which was unheard of. Given they didn't even know that I'd be able to live ostomy bag free at all. And I was also able to start incorporating foods into my diet, which again was a huge victory. So fast forward a couple of months, and there I was, walking across the stage and receiving my high school diploma after missing the majority of my senior year of high school, still managing to graduate number 9 in my class. Now fast forward a few more months from there, and my parents were driving off, leaving me behind at Ohio University, where I would be attending college at the E.W. Scripps School of Journalism to pursue my dream of being a broadcast journalist. Now, I could continue to fast forward and spiel off all of my life accomplishments, but I'll stop there. This isn't about me. This is about what you can do to overcome the odds, to make your dreams a reality, to live the life that you've dreamed of living. What I want you to know is that despite tremendous odds stacked against me, through determination, goal setting, and the mindset for continuous healing, growth, and improvement, I was able to conquer this life-changing tribulation and rise up to turn my test into my testimony. And so can you. This experience inspired me to create a blueprint, a 5-step model that gives you tangible tools and tactics to utilize in your quest to rise up over that which is holding you down. Now, I used each step in this model to overcome my illness and to live a life beyond my wildest dreams, and continue to use it every day whenever faced with a hardship. So today, I'm ecstatic to share with you what I call the Rise Up model, proven to help you overcome enormous obstacles and seize opportunities. This model will give you ideas and tactics that you can use when you're faced with extreme adversity, allowing you to take those hardships by the horns and move forward, propelling you to the top, rather than cower down into a spiral of despair. Now, maybe you're in a tight spot with meeting your sales quota. Maybe you're struggling with a fitness routine and don't seem to be getting the results that you want. Maybe you're battling an illness that makes you lethargic and not want to do anything other than rest. In order to conquer your hardship and to grasp your dreams to become a reality in relation to anything, whether it be business related, art related, health related, financial related, fitness related, whatever that obstacle is, there are 5 common practices or approaches that will help you rise up and soar. And through the use of this model, the Rise Up model, you'll learn the steps to take to break down any barrier that stands between you and your vision. Are you ready to rise up? Well, practice 1 of the Rise Up model is take the leap. And if you're taking notes, I encourage you to do this actually. This is something you definitely want to write down. These 3 little words that mean so much. Take the leap. And what is it that's holding you back from making your dreams come true? In reality, it's nothing. That thing that you've always wanted to do but have never had the guts to do it, why not just do it? You have to determine that you want to do that dream of yours and go all in. A lot of times, in order to get to this point, you have to reframe your mindset. You have to look at your current situation and think in a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. You have to be willing to start anew, oftentimes at the bottom, and put in the work to climb up to the top. And this is what scares people out of making their dreams happen, because who wants to start from the bottom? But the fact of the matter is, every single person who's at the top was a beginner at some point. They too had to work their way to the top. Now, a banana tree doesn't grow overnight. It takes years. You plant the seed, the roots solidify, the foundation or trunk grows, and then the fruit is that last element that blossoms. And much is the same for humans. It takes time to grow and foster our talents to become the person we were made to become. Although it may be an uphill climb at first, soon you'll realize that by taking that leap, you're able to build your wings on the way down, eventually rise up and soar. And I did this with my illness. Once I recognized that I had to make those changes in order to live, I took the leap and did it. I do this every day in my job as being a news person. There's always a tinge of nerves before going on live television, and that'll never go away, especially being an introvert. But every day, I take the leap and do my best to give you the news that you need. And I started to do this with doing speeches like these. I knew that I wanted to make an impact and share experiences with others in the hope to inspire and maybe, just maybe help one person crawl out from a dark tunnel that they're in. But there was no way I would unless I took the leap and just got into it. So, I challenge you this. When faced with a dilemma or a dream that you want to accomplish, take the leap and try something new. Whenever you have the opportunity to play it safe or take the risk, why not try out the risk? And why not start today? The energy and efforts of now are the fruits of your future. You'll never get to where you want to be without taking that leap. And when we're done here tonight, write down a goal and write down those steps needed to achieve it. They don't have to be big life goals either. It can be as simple as cleaning your home or cooking dinner every night or making your way to the gym every day. Even though it may be uncomfortable doing these things at first, you could achieve results beyond your wildest dreams. But you'll never get those results if you don't try. So what are you waiting for? Write them down and take the leap. And that, my friends, is the first practice of the Rise Up model. Take the leap. Practice 2 of the Rise Up model is specific goals get specific results. And if you're taking notes, I want you to jot that down right now. Specific goals get specific results. In order to achieve anything, you have to be clear and concise about what it is that you want. Otherwise, how will you rise up and tackle that exact goal that you want to achieve? When I went through my death experience and subsequent healing journey, which to this day is a continuous exploration, I knew that I had to make it through to get to the light at that end of the very dark tunnel. And I knew that the only way I would be able to do that is to have goals or certain marks that I wanted to work toward. I made those specific goals of going skydiving, to tell the ones I love that I love them, to go on vacations, to live and enjoy life. And I also vowed to myself that I would make every life dream I've ever imagined become a reality. Which leads me to this next story. I landed my first gig in the news business in Rochester, Minnesota, Nielsen market size 153. Now, to give a little more context, the Nielsen market ratings rank cities by how much of a reach or audience they have. So, for example, New York is number 1, Los Angeles is number 2, Chicago is number 3, and it goes all the way up to 210. So yes, Rochester, Nielsen market size 153. Well, Rochester is the home of the Mayo Clinic, a lot of farms, blizzards, and not much else. And I wasn't an anchor. I actually wasn't even a reporter. I was an MMJ, which is short for multimedia journalist, meaning I shot my own video, wrote my own stories, voiced the tracks, edited them together, and then delivered it on air. And I actually wasn't even in Rochester. I was in Austin, Minnesota, about 45 minutes from the big city of Rochester, in a closet-sized office in the middle of a random radio station. A fun little fact, Austin is the home of Hormel, the meat plant, and they had waste days of Tuesday and Friday in which they would burn all of the leftover and unused byproduct, which made the town smell like a giant pig roast. Another fun fact, Austin is the home of the Spam Museum. Now, I didn't cover this, but one of my coworkers did. There was even a wedding once at the Spam Museum. Very romantic. But I digress. So here I was in my first job, not doing what I wanted to be doing, which was being an anchor, and living in a small meat town in which my most exciting story was the theft of $30,000 worth of bull sperm. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually loved Austin. The people were so friendly and they genuinely cared about everyone else in town. And I loved the slower paced lifestyle that was the complete opposite of what I was used to living. But my dream couldn't become a reality in Austin. So I was determined to make my way from Austin to Rochester and be sitting at the anchor desk. I wrote down my specific goal of what I wanted, to be an anchor, and would look at it every day, would read it over and over, and I visualized myself at the desk and felt it with my entire being as if it had already happened. And I worked hard. I would shoot video like it was my job, which I guess it was. I edited all of my stories together and delivered them to the best of my ability. I wanted to prove to my boss that I was willing to put in the work to find myself sitting at that anchor desk. I would also give little check-ins to my boss saying, hey, if you ever need someone to fill in anchoring, count me in, wink, wink. And then one day I got a call from my boss. Now, he said our current sister station that was situated within our main station was going to lose the Friday night anchor to a new job. And he asked if I wanted to do it. Now, I obviously said yes and moved to Rochester to begin a new shift of reporting nightside during the week, and then Friday produced and anchored the sister station's newscast. And I was a pretty darn good anchor, much better than a reporter, and a lot of people would call in saying how much they loved me, and my boss was very pleased. Now, time went on, and then one day, something unexpected happened. Our main anchor of the main station had to become her mother's full-time caretaker and left the business. Now, our station was looking for longevity, someone who would be at the station for years to come. And that clearly wasn't me because I wanted to work my way up the news ladder. I had bigger goals to tackle. But I was determined to be the filler anchor during the search. And lo and behold, my boss asked me to be it. So for about 3 months, I led the 5, 6, and 10 p.m. newscasts along with my co-anchor until that slot was filled. And my last 2 months back, I was back to reporting and my producing and anchoring Friday night show. But that's not the point. I was clear about what I wanted and worked toward it and wouldn't accept anything less than being that fill-in anchor. If you make generic goals, you won't get the results that you want. I was pretty evident that whenever you want to rise up and accomplish a goal, being clear and concise about what you want to happen is key in order to get those specific results. If you're generic, you'll never have anything specific to work toward. So, Note takers, you'll want to write this down. And non-note takers, make a mental note. So let's start small. I challenge you all to give yourself about 10 minutes one day this week, maybe on a Sunday morning or evening, to write down the specific goals you want to achieve in the week ahead. And again, these goals can be as simple as cleaning up your home or taking out 10 minutes per day to meditate. They don't have to be huge life goals. Once you get used to the practice, you can start doing those bigger goals. So just having these written down and in front of you gives you something tangible to work toward. It helps you push forward in the progress. You can and will achieve those specific results. All it takes is clear and concise thinking, execution, and belief in yourself and your talents. And guess what? I believe in you too. So that is practice number 2. Specific goals get specific results. Practice 3 of the Rise Up model is break it down. Yep, you know the drill, note takers, write it down. So what happens when you have a goal or a dream or even a task that is out of this world big? One that may take a while to accomplish. Actually, it doesn't even have to be something that's big or takes a long time. It can be any goal, dream, or task. Most people think you should go head on to accomplish that big goal right away. But any goal you have, if you break it down into smaller, more attainable goals, it will make that big goal seem less daunting. For example, the doctors weren't sure what would happen with me when I went through my medical ordeal. As I mentioned, they thought I could need that ostomy bag forever and thought I may never be able to eat again. I broke down that big goal of a full and complete healing and made mini goals to walk a few steps further than the previous day, to smile more often than the previous week, to not feel so down on myself. And by breaking down that big goal of full health and wellness, I was able to compartmentalize and then piece those tackled goals together to rise up and build that entire puzzle. By breaking down the big goal into smaller, more attainable goals, you're able to stack the small goals to reach the big one. So here's an exercise for you. Write this down so you won't forget it. Now, when we're done here tonight, write down some of your big goals. Next, think of what you have to accomplish to tackle the big one and write that down. Break down that big goal into smaller, more attainable goals. Then, once you accomplish each of those, stack the small ones to reach the big one. You'll not only be on the pathway to achieving your dreams, but you'll also get a chance to celebrate those small victories. Because after all, life is all about the journey and not the destination. And that is practice 3 of the Rise Up model. Break it down. Practice 4 of the Rise Up model is look way ahead. In order to rise up and conquer, you have to look ahead to where you want to be, anticipate what's coming, and work and act in such a manner that will get you there, or in fact, as if you're already there. So let's say you want to move up the ladder rungs of wherever it is that you work. Look way ahead and imagine your life as if you're already there. What does that look like? Now, what steps do you need to take in order to get there? Start implementing them into your daily routine. Take a look at those people who are where you want to be. What do they do? How do they act? What sets them apart from the rest? Emulate those people and start now. Act as if you've already gotten there. Act as if you belong. You do belong, and you'll be amazed at the way this all falls into place. A great example of this practice of looking way ahead is the story of Jim Carrey. Before he became a famous comedian, he was actually struggling in the industry and didn't know if he should throw in the towel or continue. And one day, in 1985, he drove his beat-up car to the Hollywood Hills and overlooked Los Angeles to just think about life. He dreamed of one day being successful, feeling kind of sad. But then he had an idea. He pulled out his checkbook and wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered, dated it 10 years in the future, folded it up, and kept it in his wallet. Now that check called his wallet home for the next 10 years. Well, fast forward to 1995, and Jim got news that would change his life forever. He found out that he got the role of Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber. Take a stab at what he got paid for that movie. You guessed it. Jim made $10 million. Talk about looking ahead to the future, visualizing what you want and all that goes into it, and then acting accordingly. That day in Hollywood Hills, Jim made a promise to himself when he wrote that check. He promised that he would become all that he wanted to be and more. And he recognized the work that he needed to put in to make it happen. He stopped at nothing until he got there. So here's your homework. I want you to take some time for yourself. After all, at the end of the day, you're all you truly have. And I want you to introspect and think of where you want to be. Visualize your life in 5, 10, 15 years from now and what you're doing. Write a letter to your future self and be extremely specific as to what you're doing for work, how you're making your money, what your family looks like, what type of home you live in, what kind of car you drive. And write this letter to yourself and seal it up with a date on it. And then get to work. Make it all happen. So when you open that bad boy up on the date that you wrote down, you can smile with satisfaction at the fact that you've made it. Just as Jim did when he wrote himself that check. He knew where he wanted to be and worked as if he were already there. And when I was sick, I would visualize my body healing completely. I would see myself at the beach in a swimsuit without the ostomy bag. I would hear the waves crashing. It was almost as if I were there. And I knew I could and would heal my intestines to be able to get that ostomy bag reversal. I visualized the cilia healing and my intestines being able to absorb nutrients. I looked ahead and saw my future self. I followed all of my doctor's orders and then some to get where I wanted to be and made it happen. Recognize what you have to do to get yourself wherever it is that you want to be, act accordingly, and rise up. And that is practice 4 of the Rise Up model. Look way ahead. The 5th and final practice of the Rise Up model is always be on your A game. And you know the drill. Write down those words. Always be on your A game. Always do the best you can in any situation with whatever circumstances you're dealt. Now, this is life. Times aren't always going to be easy or ideal, but your mindset and how you approach everything thrown your way makes all the difference. This means even if you're having a day that you feel sad or maybe you feel a tad sick, you still work to the best of your ability to accomplish any tasks at hand. You can't control the atmosphere, but you can control your attitude. By always thinking good thoughts and being on your A game, you'll set yourself apart from the rest. So, every day when I wake up, I say this phrase out loud, super excitedly. Great day, today is going to be a great day. And I say it just like that. And it lets the universe know that my day is going to be amazing and I am a force to be reckoned with. If I didn't need to be at work at 3:30 in the morning, I would also do a morning workout and a meditation and write out my goals, but with my schedule, a mantra is what works for me. And by saying this every day, it makes me want to do and be my best. It makes me want to go out and go all in at any task that I get the opportunity to accomplish. It sends a signal that I'm ready to tackle anything that's thrown my way. And this is how we should approach every day and every task we're presented. We should always strive to do our best. Now, what works for me, my morning mantra, doesn't have to work for you. Everyone has their own thing. Maybe you do a meditation, maybe you sip coffee and feel grateful, or you go on a walk, or you work out. Whatever it is that helps you set yourself up for the best day ever, because I'm a firm believer that every day is your best day, meaning life just continues to improve as you go. Now, whatever it is that sets you apart and sets you up to do your best, do that. Now, it all starts with that choice that you make to start your day. Will you own the day? Or will you let the day own you? So, I challenge you to start doing this. You can say or do whatever it is that speaks to your soul. Whatever it is that just feels right. Instead of waking up in a groggy, mad mood and cursing the fact that you're up and that you didn't get that extra hour of sleep, I challenge you to greet the day with excitement. Do it, say it, feel it, and when you do this, you'll rise up and live it. And that was practice 5 of the Rise Up model. Always be on your A game. So, there you have it. The 5 practices of the Rise Up model. Now, let me tell you what, I don't know about you, but I am pumped. I am so ecstatic for each and every single one of you right now. Why? Because you now have a blueprint to formulate the life that you want. You have the key to the castle. You have what you need to know to rise up. You can and will overcome any and all obstacles thrown your way, and you'll seize opportunities, propelling you to a life beyond your wildest dreams and ambitions. And even further than that. Now, if you use these practices in your everyday life, you'll leave a legacy. So if you have a dream or a goal that you always wished to accomplish, you're just getting started. It is your time to shine. And it all begins with believing in yourself, confidence, and of course, taking the leap. If you follow these 5 practices, these 5 simple things to add into your everyday routine, you're destined for greatness. You're destined for achievement. You are destined to never let any of your dreams and goals go unrealized. Are you ready to rise up?